I'd like to give the floor to Tom Wilson for his talk about Permaweb. Give him a welcome. Applause, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Warsaw. It's been a pleasure to be here. My name's Tom, and I'm a founder at ETHWarsaw, and I work on the STAMP protocol, the Universal Content Marketplace, and I'm proud to say I'm a Permaweb pioneer. And you may be asking, what is the Permaweb? And I hope to answer that question today. So what we're going to do is talk about just what is the Permaweb, and then we're going to go through some principles and pillars about what is kind of different from a developer mindset from building on the Permaweb opposed to the current internet. And if we follow these principles and pillars, we will build a better internet together. So the Permaweb is a composable internet, and I like to kind of think of it as it takes really strong concepts from the current internet and strong concepts from crypto, and it combines those together to create this new kind of internet where developers can build permanent applications that are fully decentralized and will be around for 200 years and beyond, right? And this diagram kind of gives you kind of a look at the model. So we have at the bottom is we have the Arweave protocol, which is decentralized storage, and anything that is put into Arweave is there forever. So you can put data, you can put applications, you can put protocols, and they take certain directions that we can read through these Permaweb services. So a gateway service, for example, is the equivalent of a web server in Web 2. So gateway services will take data, and if the content type is HTML, when you ask for it through a gateway, it will return you HTML. If the content type is JavaScript, when you ask from the gateway, it will return JavaScript. So you get the components of building an application, but we need speed, and we need to be able to query, and that's where bundling services come in and indexing services. Bundling services allow us to increase the capacity of what we can put on Arweave. So the latest test was 50,000 transactions per second. We think that with bundling services, we can actually go almost to 1 million transactions, if not beyond 1 million transactions per second. So we've got the ability to have fast write to the network. Indexing is reads, right? So we need to read and query and filter data, and we have tools like GraphQL. The graph has subgraphs that are connected to Arweave. GoldSky is also a service that provides GraphQL, and there's also other GraphQL options out there. So when you combine that layer of services, now you have the ability to build permanent applications or Permaweb applications. And one of the key principles is to compose. So you don't have a cold start problem. Instead of building an app and having to go and get people to add data, you have the data of over 1.25 terabytes of data already on chain. So if you can discover that data for your application, you immediately have data for users. To quickly talk about the principles of the Permaweb, it's really kind of 3 core principles. Useful, obviously. Scalable, a must, right? We want massive levels of participation. And complete. And complete is an interesting word, because we live in a time where you ask, when is the software ready? And the answer many, many times is next week or the next 2 weeks. And it's a constant evolution, right, of building. Developers today don't build with the mindset of complete tomorrow, but it's going to be complete sometime in the future, right? With permanent applications, you really want to think a lot about completeness. You want to make sure that when you're giving your users something to use, that it functions with everything that you say that it's going to do. That doesn't mean that you can't evolve it over time, but what we want is each application that users have, that they may not want to take the new versions. They may want to work with the existing version, and that's fine, as long as it's complete. And the way that we're working on communicating this, again, it's a lot of text, but don't worry about reading that. The 3 words on the left, the statuses, project statuses, because when you are innovating, you do have questions, you have experiments, and you have kind of this discovery phase. So we have project statuses of preview, which basically means, we're still discovering the product and trying to make it fit, and we may make some breaking changes. Then we have an early status, which means, okay, we've got all the core features, and we want people to use it, because when you start using a product, good ideas come out, bugs are found, things like that, and we want to communicate from an application standpoint that, this work is pretty much done, but we're going to fix the bugs. And then when a Permaweb app is marked complete, that means that this particular version of the app is complete. It is not going to change. And if you go to that transaction ID now or 200 years from now, you will still be able to use the same app with the same functionality. Now, that may be super easy to say, but that is really, really hard, right? In the world of so many different APIs and so many different centralized services. So we, really take decentralization seriously, and that comes into our pillars. So the Permaweb pillars is really focused on on-chain data. So our Weave network gives us on-chain data, decentralized access, and verifiable compute. On-chain data basically is permissionless, decentralized, and anyone can participate. It's very important that we mean anyone can participate. The endowment model, to your question, it ensures funding for this data to last centuries into the future. Decentralized access, so in order to access the Permaweb, we have to have an open front door, and that's where gateways and wallets come into play, so that applications can allow users to come in. And these wallets are continually to evolve, and recently we have a few wallets that actually allow for Web 2 users to access the Permaweb, so they can use their Google account or their email address. So we're constantly working on ways to allow people to access the Permaweb. And then gateways, we have partners that have released open source gateway nodes. So now anyone can run a gateway and provide access to the Permaweb. I hope in the next few months we'll actually have hundreds of gateways that are serving Arweave content to users. Verifiable compute. So verifiable compute, we actually have smart contracts, we call them Smart Weave, and these contracts use a fold pattern so that you are actually putting your compute on Arweave, so it's permanently stored, and the fold pattern interprets those interactions to calculate state. And this needs to be deterministic, so that at any time, any point of time, the result is verifiable. Those are the 3 pillars, if you will, of the Permaweb. And then we have the ecosystem. And with the ecosystem, it combines protocols, SDKs, applications, services, and tokens. Protocols. This is something that I am very passionate about. It's important to build open protocols on the Permaweb so that any developer can use these to compose with other applications. We want applications to work together from the point that users, if they create data in one application and they go to the Permaweb to use another application, they can access that data. And in order to do that, we have to have common protocols for these applications to talk to each other. Path Manifest is one that allows for you to deliver web applications that consistently show how their schemas are made. So if you go to home, it knows to pull this TXID, which is the identifier on Arweave of the data for the home page. Or if you go /about, it goes to this TXID to pull the data for that. So the manifest provides like a router for your application. Asset discoverability is my favorite. So any asset that's uploaded, we would love for developers to always deliver essentially 4 tags to identify that data. One is type, the other one is title, the third one is description, and the fourth one is topics. So if everyone that's pushing data to Arweave would just add those 4 fields, and maybe not even all 4, maybe just type and title, we would be able to provide an incredible search experience, discovery experience for everyone, not only developers, but users. It's a small ask as you're building, but if you take the time to identify your information when you put on-chain, then it can be read on-chain. SDKs. So we have Community Labs, who's a development foundry in the Arweave ecosystem, and they have launched Arweave Kit, and this has become a one-stop library for builders on Arweave, where there's gateways, there's bundlers, there's financing, there's atomic assets, there's queries. The goal is to make it as simple as possible for developers to build apps. So this is one tool that we hope that developers can install and immediately start building onto the Permaweb without having to go to several different places to cobble together their API. So we encourage more and more SDKs on the Permaweb. And then applications. Applications are super exciting. I think we have, and a couple of days ago we had Arweave Day, and I was able to show off Bazaar. Bazaar is a marketplace that we just launched that's built on UDL and UCM. And UDL stands for Universal Data License, and UCM stands for Universal Content Marketplace. These are basic protocols that anyone can build a marketplace user experience where creators can actually apply real-world rights to their data. But we have other applications. We have FAIR protocol that allows you to connect with API models like ChatGPT or like DALL-E or Midjourney. So you can actually use the Permaweb to generate your AI assets. And then we have now.arweave.dev. That's a kind of like a Reddit for the Permaweb. If you want to see what's being added to the Permaweb in terms of assets and contents, you just go to now.arweave.dev and you can kind of see what's going on. And that's kind of driven by the stamp protocol. And the stamp protocol is a universal like button. So anything on the Permaweb can be stamped by a user, and any application can read those stamps to discover or moderate or sort information. And we have a new application that I didn't have a chance to do a screen grab here called DataOS. Data.os.so is a product that a forward research team launched that allows you to essentially do like Google Trends of all the data on Arweave and see all the different things. And then we have R drive and Accord, which helps you upload data onto the Permaweb. And services is a key part of the Permaweb. So we have two, and we have more, but these are the two that I would say as a developer, you would want to learn the most about. One is the bundler service that allows you to upload data in a scalable way, so you can send large amounts of data and get it on chain very fast. And then Warp is an implementation of the Smart Weave contract. So you can use Warp to create your contract, deploy your contract, and execute and evaluate your Smart Weave contracts. So those are two critical pieces of the Permaweb, and we expect to see more companies building out these types of services. And then finally, tokens. So in order for the Permaweb to really take a next step is to have liquid in the Permaweb. And these tokens are helping to do that. We have the U token, which stands for like unit of account, and that's kind of the medium of exchange on the Permaweb. So you can go to Bazaar and you see an asset, you can purchase that asset with U and you can sell it with U. Then we have other tokens like R drive, Stamp, and Pixel. And these are tokens that incentivize creators and incentivize consumers to participate in this ecosystem. We expect to see more tokens in the future, but we really want to make sure that the tokens are either providing some sort of value to the end user and not just a token for every single app, you know, kind of thing. It can get kind of crazy. So in summary, I think the Permaweb is an exciting vision of what I think the future of the internet should be, that can function without dependency on any government body or any company, and really make cyberspace open and independent and available to everyone. On this slide, I left some links, and again, happy to share these, but these are some really great links for developers and creators. And the last comment I want to make before I take questions is I really think we've built some really good tools for creators to make this the first point to upload their data, because when you put it on a permanent storage system and you assign your rights with a universal data license and you assign your exchange with UCM, you basically can then license and sell to any other entity, but you will always have proof of authority of what you built, and no one can kind of disprove that. And that's all I had, so thank you.
And who has the first question? Yes.
Hi, I don't quite understand how it will work from the infrastructure perspective. I mean, that's all calculation, that's storage. Whose computer it will be doing that?
Yeah, from like the execution compute side?
No, I mean, because you said that, for example, you can upload huge files to your internet system or something like that, and where it will be stored, and how you guarantee that it will be stored forever. I don't understand that.
Sure.
Because you said something about that there will be some blockchain or something, so I assume that there will be some kind of full node, but every full node will need to store everything, or how it will work?
Yes, yeah. So the Arweave network is a blockchain, and it is on chain. All the data is on chain on the Arweave network, and you can launch a full node. And the way that the mechanism works for earning to mint a new block on Arweave is you have to have proof of access. So you have to have proof of random access, which encourages the miners to store all of Arweave. So as the chain grows, they would store all of Arweave in their full node. This allows for replication. So when you upload data on Arweave, you have copies of that data distributed all around the world. And that makes it available. And then the endowment model, where when you pay, not all of the payment that you make to store that goes straight to the miners when they mine a block. Some of that goes to this endowment, and that endowment grows over time as the cost of storage decreases over time. And the pricing is very conservative at 2%. And basically, when you pay to store something, the price model is already priced out for 200 years minimum. But as the math continues, it moves to indefinite because storage cost continually goes down and the endowment continually goes up.
But so the full node still will need to keep all the data. And the full node will still need to compute all the smart contracts.
No. Arweave.
So where the smart contract will be executed if not in full nodes?
Right. So the SmartWeave contract is using a fold pattern. So any computational device can read the interactions off of the SmartWeave and execute them. So they can execute in the browser, and they can also execute with Warp, for example. They have DREs, decentralized resolution evaluators, that anyone can run and operate and provide execution. The same with Everpay has SCP, which also provides execution. And we expect others to provide execution operational units in the future.
Who's next?
Sure, everyone's ready for happy hour now.
Okay. In that case, let's give a final applause.